Hey OFPG family, this is Maurice Andrews back again on the channel. I guess I didn't do too bad the first time for them to invite me here again. So today I'm going to do a quick review of Dune House Secrets. So if you're not familiar with the game, that's what it looked like if you bought a box. And this follows the Detective series. If you're not familiar with Detective, that's also made by Portal Games. Um, it's a it's a detective game where you're playing off of a ton of different cards and just trying to figure out this overarching story that's happening over the course of five different cases. And the Dune House Secrets borrows from that system, or I guess technically is using that system. And it's actually kind of a cool little side story that doesn't have a lot of impact on the main story of Dune. So just to kind of give you a reference with me playing this game, I've only experienced the most recent movie that this board game is playing off of. I didn't watch the older ones. I didn't read any of the books, and I was still able to follow with the story of this game. And going into this game, all I know is House of Atreides is the more noble, decent house. Of course, that fell in the first movie, at least on Arrakis, and House Harkonnen is the house you don't want to be a part of, because a bunch of savages. And even with me going into this game, knowing only that much off of what I've seen from the movie, I was able to follow along extremely well with the story. I think it's well written, but I'm gonna go ahead and go over to some of the components that's here. Um, as you can see within the game, you get a couple of maps that come with the game. You have four characters, so this game is based on one to four characters. I played this solo, so what they have is these four character cards, and if you don't, you get if you're playing solo, you choose one character and then flip the other ones over, and they have some tokens that they'll give you in place of not being able to use the characters. And each of the different characters have different abilities that they're able to do to manipulate what happens in the game to help you succeed. The maps are more for reference, just as you're reading along with these stories. You're having an idea of what's going on, where people are at, where people have been, so that that small piece of information could be the difference maker of you uh, figuring out what's going on in this story. Because just like the other detective games, you'll go through, you only have a certain amount of time to be able to finish. And as you can see here on the time track, it goes from 0 to 14, and some of them give you 6 turns, some of them give you 11 turns, some of them give you the full 14 turns to be able to figure out what's going on in that particular story. And as you can see from the cards here, you have technically four chapters. So there's chapters 1 through 3, and then there's also the prologue just to kind of get you involved with the game. But uh, with my experience of it, I went through and played the prologue through chapter 3, and it took me roughly, I say, 5 to 6 hours. So with the price tag of it being about $16 on Amazon right now, today is the 27th of November. So I'm not sure if that's because of Black Black Friday or not, but that's a really good price for this game to get out. 6 hours of entertainment. So you do have to have the website to be able to play the game. They went from having a website to having apps, and then going back to the website. And I think that the website is better than the app. For one, the website won't get to the point where it becomes obsolete, which is kind of nice. They have to keep up with some security protocols, but I think that having this website was super easy to manage. And I'll go through a little bit of it just so that you all have an understanding of what it asks out of you. So whenever you go to each of the different chapters, they have a little video that they play. I'll go ahead and not show a video just for the sake of spoilers, but they have what they call film books and history throughout the game, where there may be a card that you read that'll let you know to go check out film book 103. So you go and enter that film book, and then it'll play a little video. And the majority of the game is played on these cards here, where you'll have some text that's being read, and then there's some actions for you to take. You may be able to take some tokens, or it'll tell you to flip it over, and you see here Uh, it has what they call a consequence token. So there's 5 tokens that you can flip over. Go back to the board here. So they have like these little tokens right here, and you kind of shuffle them up. And whenever you have an action that requires you to take a token, you flip over one, and it's either green or red. If it's green, you go on with no consequences. But if it's red, then you have to, as you can see on the consequence track on the screen right now, you have to move your experience down one, and you can use experience to update your characters and whatnot, and they allow you to flip over, and there's normally some more story if you choose to navigate it. But you go through, and each of the different prologues have a little sheet like this that you go through and read, and then on the back of it, it gives you some starter points on some cards that you can go through and read to advance the story. And as you advance the story, um, they give you more opportunities to be able to go search for more cards. So on the back of this one sheet that's here, it may tell you you have the options to go to 103, 105, 107, where you may go to 105, and it'll give you some actions there, and it lets you know you have the option to go to 114 and 115. So it's kind of a choose your own adventure as you're going through getting this information to figure out what's going on. And the story that's here is you were a prisoner to House Harkonnen, and there's this lady who sent her group of people to go and save you all from House Harkonnen, because you all used to serve House of Atreides. And for from her saving you, she's asking you to repay a water debt to go out and figure out what's happening in this city, because there's a lot of things that's going on between the different houses, and she's asking you to kind of figure out what's going on and find these particular people and figure out what happened to them. And so you're still serving her while also trying to serve House of Atreides, and there's these other houses that's at play here. I wasn't familiar with the names of the houses that weren't Harkonnen or Atreides, but I'm not sure if they were made up for this particular game or if they um, are a part of the books and they now are starting to get some more shine. There's one House Sorko that plays a huge role in this particular story that's being told. But I've thoroughly enjoyed this game. It when I beat the game, I beat it in one night. I just wanted to play the prologue in chapter one, but the story was so intriguing. I just kept going until I finished the game, and it is replayable. You'll have an understanding of the overall what happens, but how you get to those answers are different, and um, there may be different details that you weren't privy of playing it through one playthrough, but you play another playthrough, and there will be small details that'll be revealed, and they do have some callbacks to some of the main characters of the movie, at least from the original, well, not the original Doom, but this Doom movie that came out this year or last year, whenever it was out. They do reference some of the characters, and some of them make an appearance. I won't tell who, but there's a few of them who make an appearance in the game, which I thought was amazing to be able to see some of them have an appearance within the game and affect the story that's here. But to compare it to the detective game, I think that this one is more streamlined. I think with the way that they operated this game, you can literally throw any IP on this particular system and it's going to work. I think that this one it didn't feel like a Dune game. It felt like you were being a detective within the Dune um, universe. And I think that it's a much more simplified way to play the game. I think that the app that's here, or I guess the website, is very easy to navigate. There's only two things that you can do, and then they had a status report here. So there's two ways that you can play the game. You can either play through it just to kind of figure out the story, or you can play it where it's more gamified, where you have more consequences to your actions. And just like the other detective games, whenever you're done with the story or you run out of turns, then you go to a status report and it asks you 3 questions. So I'll go ahead, since this is the prologue. They'll ask you, why was the settlement attack? What happened to this person? Who's the person with the scar on their face? So I think that uh, this gives you more of a it holds more weight to the consequences that you have. And I think that, at least for me, the gamified version was more fun to play. But I also think that the story is good enough here to where you can go through and just learn the story. And I think that it was well told. I think the writing in this one is better than the predecessors to this one. But I think in terms of the actual game with detective, I think the first one was a better quote unquote game because it had you go and search the internet for answers. They created a fictional story that happened around real historical events. So um, it spanned the time from World War II to current day. So you had to go look up, the moon landing, and you had to go look up different details about these operations that happened at World War II, and it gives you more insight into what these characters were doing at certain parts of history to be able to solve the case that you had at hand. But all in all, I think that this is a good game. I think with Amazon having it for about $15 to $16, that's an absolute steal. I think the game is mostly you can find it about $40, which I think is debatable on if it's worth that much. But I do think that it's a story that's super cool. That's a nice side story that won't affect the movie or any of the books, as far as I'm aware of. Just watching this Dune remake movie, um, coming into this game, there wasn't. I felt like I wasn't being spoiled on anything, or that even really needed the movie to know what's going on here. But it does have some fan service for those who know, who at least have watched this movie. If you've read the books, there may be more things you pick up on that that they gave a lot of fan service to. So I really like this game. If I had to give it a score, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think that it's definitely worth playing if you like the detective system, and I think that this is a really good entry into the detective system. It's not as complex as the previous games like Detective and Vienna Connection. I don't think it's as nearly as complex, and it uses an IP that's pretty popular right now, so it's easy to come in and play the game. But if you played it, let me know what you think about it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was super fun. I thought that um, the story was extremely engaging. Like I didn't need any more mechanics to learn his story. Like there was just so much going on, and there felt like there was so much weight to the decisions that you had because of what was going on within this particular settlement in the nearby city that is just being terrorized by House Harkonnen. So yeah, let me know what you all think about it if you've played it. But that's my review of Dune House Secrets. I do think that it was a fun game. I enjoyed the story quite a bit, and thank you for your time. And hopefully you have a wonderful day.